Well, I'm glad you're still with us, and it's time for us to get into our insight. I, for one, am very excited. I am with a very humbled man, if I could say. When we were having a conversation earlier on, he says, no, I'm not professor, I'm mister. So what we're going to do here is have a very quick discussion on looking at branding Africa's Upper Nile Valley, and of course it's a very interesting event that will be coming on, and a symposium that will be in regards to this and a discussion to this. With me in studios is, I will use Mr.
Yes, please.
George Piwang Jolobo. Say this when you speak and talk about the name, sounds very, very strong. And he is a research fellow and also a consultant, Makerere University since 2008 to date. I'll let you talk about yourself, a whole lot more later. I don't want to destroy all of that. Sure. But first of all, you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. And real quick, tell us about yourself. If someone is talking about George Piwang Jolobo, who are we talking about? What have you been through to get to where you are?
First, how did I get here? To tell you briefly about who I am. The Uganda-Germany Investment Symposium in Muni University in Arua City, West Nile, is an initiative of General Salim Saleh, the Chief Coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation, President's Office. This is the second one in the series that he started last year. The first one was Uganda-China Investment Symposium, which was held in Serene Suites, Mutundwe, and the theme was very poignant. It was on the synergy between higher education, knowledge, innovation, and industrialization in Africa.
Okay.
Now, the second one, with the Uganda-German Investment Symposium, where I'm the consultant research fellow for it, is in Muni University, the first of such a kind to be held in a public university located in West Nile, part of the larger Upper Nile, Nile Valley, which comprises northern Uganda, northeastern DRC, and South Sudan.
Okay.
So that's how I come here. But my background is, I credit the high school I went to. We used to call it East Africa's School of Geniuses.
Okay.
And that is Lango College, Lira.
Yes.
I was there for 6 years. That is the school that gave me a broad global outlook. Because I was a head librarian of the library called Kennedy Library.
Oh, interesting.
And so I read a lot about America from Lango College.
Ah.
And then I trained as a teacher in National Teachers College, Chambogo. I taught math and physics. After training for 3 years, I worked for the Church of Uganda as a youth worker and evangelist. And then I went abroad for further studies, where I studied theology, political science, and economic development as ethics up to graduate level. So basically, I am formed by multi-layers of experiences.
Indeed. And I must say, I think you're a believer of, education.
Yes.
You believe that education is one thing that everyone needs.
Education, proper education, properly guided, is a powerful transformative force.
Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. Now, let us go to the focus here.
Yes.
The Upper
Nile
Valley.
Yes.
Why at this particular time?
See, this region comprising northern Uganda, and in the center of it is West Nile, northeastern DRC and South Sudan, has been having cyclical violence and conflict since the 1960s. Interestingly, it is a place that is occupied or inhabited by common ethnicities and communities on either side. And so that's why you find when there's trouble in northern Uganda, many of them flee into Congo or South Sudan, and vice versa. Now, over decades, this region has become to be known for violence, for refugees, for conflicts, and none of the endowments and assets that it has ever been publicized. Now, that is looking at it negatively. But through this investment symposium, and really I credit General Salim Saleh for his vision to choose Muni University, which is a young public university, barely 3 years old, but beautifully designed. It is a university that was given by government the first public university in the West Nile region, that has introduced the idea of higher education in the West Nile. Up until 1983, the highest tertiary institution in the West Nile region was Pakwach UCC.
Oh, yes.
Which means prior to that, most West Nilers who wanted to go for higher education, right from A level, had to go out of the region. And so for a long time, West Nile has been a part that used to supply Uganda as if it was not part of Uganda.
Yes.
And it's because of its history. And so that negative stigma has been part of the Upper Nile Valley. But now showing the business opportunity, the investment opportunity, and with industrial load electricity going to West Nile, as West Nile is going to be connected to the national grid, according to government program, it transforms the whole place to a hub of business, destination of investment, because the people are very dynamic and very entrepreneurial. So that is where the brand.
So what are some of these endowments that we're probably not pushing out there for the rest of the country?
Yes.
And Africa and the world at large to see?
Most people do not know that West Nile produces some of the best Arabica coffee, especially in Greater Nebi and Zumbu districts.
Oh, yeah.
West Nile used to be known for tobacco, which is having a comeback. West Nile has beautiful flora and fauna for tourism.
Yes.
And of course, the greatest asset that West Nile has is the gateway to West Nile, which is my hometown called Pakwach.
Yes.
Pakwach is the head of the Mombasa, Tororo rail. It stops in Pakwach. Pakwach used to be a very vibrant river port where a steamer, which was four-story, used to sail between Pakwach, Botiaba, Mahage Port in Congo, and Kasenyi in Congo. This ship had a theater. It was four-storied, but water transport ceased on Lake Albert and River Nile with the flood of 1962. But Pakwach still retains that infrastructural hub, which is the best in East and Central Africa, according to me. Now, that is the gateway to West Nile. That is the gateway to East DRC. That's the gateway to South Sudan. That's the gateway to Central African Republic. Because from Koboko to the Central African Republic border is only 160 kilometers. Would you believe that? So in other words, rather than singing about the LRA walking from northern Uganda to Central African Republic, we can see a business route with regional infrastructure. This place would open up to thriving businesses. And this symposium introduces us to that. And that's why we call it Rebranding the Upper Nile Valley.
Interesting. And it's a good time.
Yes.
Indeed.
Yes.
Now, I've been going through a couple of the things there, and I saw, I don't know, like a hashtag or something of the sort, where they say, no change, okay, keep the Pearl of Africa in Uganda.
Yes.
And this is something we, the people that should be enjoying this and showing off to the world about, are not taking seriously.
Of course, we are the Pearl of Africa. It was
but we don't seem to be taking it seriously.
Because we like to focus on the negative rather than the positive. For some reason, I don't know how this wiring has come about, but for me, I'm a wired optimist.
Interesting, yes.
I'm a wired optimist. The best is in Uganda, and with the rebranding of the Upper Nile Valley, we're going to turn our minds from focusing on the negative and seeing the beautiful positives and endowments that God has blessed this country with. So for me, it's not even a debate.
It's not even a debate.
The Pearl is in Uganda. Uganda is the Pearl.
Now, I'm sorry, I'm going to drag you into this discussion that's all over the place in regards to our Murchison Falls. And I'm first saying, should we damage some of our naturally, given gifts in the name of development, or should we try and look for alternatives?
That is a no-brainer. It's an old type of debate like in primary 7 of the 60s and 7. Is mother better than father? That's a no-brainer. Okay? The issue of Murchison Falls should not even come for debate, given the benefits we have now. We have plenty of sources for electricity. Okay, right now with Isimba and Karuma coming on, we have plenty of sunshine in Uganda that we have not even touched on. Now, if you appreciate the Pearl of Africa because of the endowments that are unique, such as Murchison Falls, you will not even think of touching that when you have plenty of alternatives for Electricity.
Electricity, yeah.
So that's for me, it is a facile debate. We should not be wasting our time.
It shouldn't even be that.
It's like the debate of mother is better than father. That was primary level debate.
Very interesting. I agree with you on
So I don't know why people are wasting their ink on that.
The way, you know, right? It's like
Mission Falls is the best we have in natural endowment tourism.
That is true.
So why do you want to destroy it when you can develop energy sources from all the other endowments that God has given us?
That is very true.
Yeah, I think that is.
I don't think we know how to take advantage of what we have.
No, it's because we don't appreciate the best that we have.
That is very true.
Yeah.
And we've been doing this for a while.
And yet we're the best, we're the most endowed, uniquely endowed country in Africa. We're unique.
Well said. I do agree with you there. Now, real quick, let us look at the objectives here. I know you've hinted on them in our discussions, but let us focus on the objectives that this symposium is looking at.
Yes. The theme of the symposium is a transformation of Africa's Upper Nile Valley through Pan-African peace building and holistic development.
Interesting.
This is part of the rebranding. So if you look at the benefits of West Nile's location in northern Uganda vis-a-vis the neighboring countries, you see a new market.
Yeah.
Okay? And so the objectives are to tap into the assets, that's the private sector, entrepreneurs in northern Uganda. So you never thought there were entrepreneurs in northern Uganda. They are very serious.
There are quite many.
Exactly. And entrepreneurs in northeastern DRC, South Sudan, and Central African Republic. But the other aspect that we are bringing in are the universities, academia. See, there are universities in South Sudan, there are universities in northeastern Congo. So this symposium is tapping into those assets of private sector in Upper Nile Valley, universities that are involved in research, development, innovation, commercialization, and Muni University is one of those on the leading edge of this. So we want to bring together academia, the private sector, and government in partnership. This is part of what Vision 2040 says.
Yes.
That government will encourage academia, private sector, government collaboration. So in other words, we are doing what is envisaged in Vision 2040.
Yes.
And then National Development Plan 2 specifically talks about academia, private sector, government partnership in the subsector of science, technology, engineering, and innovations, where it defines the role of government, the role of the private sector, and the role of universities. So this is the premise of this symposium. The synergies, the assets are the private sector, the universities, and government partnering together to unleash businesses, investments, innovations, and commercializations.
Yes. So the object, of course, now partly because now these are some of the benefits that one should expect from this. So why, for example, should I go for that symposium? Probably some people say, well, it's about the West Nile, the Upper Nile. So why should I go there? Now, which people are you looking at? Who should go there anyway?
We are targeting universities, we are targeting private sector companies, we are targeting multinationals who are going to be participants, but of course we are starting from the region. We've also invited international business people. The reason why it is called Uganda-Germany Investment Symposium, like its predecessor, the Uganda-China Investment Symposium, comes out of the Uganda Investment Authority Strategic Plan 2016-2021, which prioritized 9 countries as investment strategic partners for Uganda. China, Germany, India, Ireland, Israel, South Korea, UK, and the USA. Now, the first symposium, which was actually coined by General Salim Saleh, Investment Symposium, was China. This is the second, and that's why it is with Germany. So we have invited many companies from Germany, and it also happened at a time when Germany is looking at Africa as a new market, not through the eyes of aid, but through the eyes of investment and trade. And so there's also a shift. So this is what we are tapping into.
Okay. Now, let's look at the fact that all eyes are going to be on the West Nile region.
Yes.
How have you tried to involve the locals or the people within to take advantage of this?
Because Muni University is the host and manager, they have put together Greater Northern Uganda Private Sector Steering Committee, partnering with them in this symposium.
Yes.
So that is to start at the academia-private sector partnership from the region. And then General Salim Saleh appointed a national organizing committee comprised of top business people, financial experts, and government agency executives. It is chaired by Dr. Robert Mwesigwarukari, who is the chairman of Entrepreneurs League of NRM, but a businessman in his own right. He's an amazing fellow. He has been to West Nile and he has seen the potential of West Nile. So he heads the National Organizing Committee.
Yes.
And so at the regional level, we have made provision by mobilizing the private sector entrepreneurs from within the region of Greater Northern Uganda. That is Acholi, Lango, and West Nile.
Okay.
And then we have a national organizing committee that is pushing this as a national agenda, appointed by the convener, General Salim Saleh.
Interesting. Yes. Now, the fact that you are a research fellow for this particular investment symposium, what are some of the things you've that have caught your eye, while you were doing your job?
First of all, I was part of a three-man team in developing the concept paper. The concept paper was developed by Dr. James Kajete, who's a Ugandan in the German diaspora. He's back now. He's given us most of the contacts in Germany and Europe.
Okay.
And then Professor John David Kabasa of Makerere University, plus me. We are the trio that developed the concept paper. And so as we developed the concept paper, we realized how historic this thing is going to be. First of all, by locating opportunities in Upper Nile region, including northern Uganda, which most people have associated with conflict, okay? And most people have associated with challenges. When you think about northern Uganda, you don't think about business opportunity.
I know, the first thing that comes to mind is all of the terrible things, because that's what we fronted.
Exactly. But it goes back to colonial geography. When I was in primary, we used to say that northern Uganda was semi-arid.
Yeah.
So the picture in your mind was that northern Uganda was desert.
Yeah.
But they never used to tell you that Arabica coffee grows in the highlands of West Nile, in Greater Nebi.
Yeah.
Some of the most beautiful climate is in West Nile. So this is part of paradigm shift that we are making deliberately. It is us Ugandans telling our story, no longer accepting the script of others.
That's a good one.
Yes. So this is what this symposium is all about. It is historic, and therefore you must not miss.
Yes. Have you identified any gaps, though? If we're looking back at us, the Ugandans, have you identified any gaps? And looking at the cause or reason as to why we're in the situation we're in right now.
If you take over a long span of history since our independence, there are several gaps. But for northern Uganda, the fundamental gaps have been infrastructural, particularly industrial load electricity. See, West Nile has not been part of the national grid since independence. It is only now that West Nile government is in high gear to connect West Nile to the national grid. In other words, to take industrial load capacity of electricity that can run factories, that can supply industrial parks. Those factories create jobs, and those jobs create wealth, and this wealth creates optimism.
True.
So that has been the most fundamental gap as far as northern Uganda is concerned. Now, even Lango and Acholi sub-regions have had very minimal industrial load electricity transmission. But government is in high gear to connect key parts of northern Uganda with industrial load electricity transmission.
Okay. And hopefully we're going to see a change very soon.
I see change is coming. And you see, I'd like to tell people that in my lifespan, there are two things in terms of infrastructure which stand out for me. The first one was the Pakwach Bridge. It was opened in 1969. I was there, I was in P7. The next one is the Tarmac Road during this regime of President Museveni. If you traveled on what used to be called convoy from Karuma to Pakwach, which I did, you would understand how this tarmac from Karuma to Arua means to people of West Nile.
Yeah.
It's like heaven on earth.
A choice of words. Okay. Now, let us look at what has been happening? Have we been having a passive sort of strategy? Because we have people come and talk about this and then we never see much happening. What has been happening? Have we sort of been ignoring the elephant in the room? What has been happening that we need to take a step towards now what we're doing? Is this something we've been ignoring, especially when it comes to the West Nile region?
You see, because of our remoteness and because of colonial spacing, which called Kampala and Buganda region as Central Uganda.
The rest, well,
and so this idea of marginality, that we are marginalized. You see, when you are marginalized, it's because you think you're on a margin to a center which is outside of you.
That is true.
But you see, the center periphery ideology is bankrupt, in my opinion. Because the center is where there's economic activity. And where there's an economic activity, there is the center. The periphery is where there's no economic activity. Now we are bringing economic activity, industrialization, investment to West Nile. That West Nile will become a new center. Kampala will be on the margin. So that is what has affected many of us in Uganda, in my thinking. We have been thinking the center is somewhere else except us. And so with that kind of thinking, we have not been taking responsibility to make ourselves the center of economic activity and employment creation and opportunities. But now that we're introducing this rebranding of the Upper Nile, can you imagine that Kampala will become marginalized vis-a-vis the Upper Nile Valley? Isn't that a paradigm shift? Now, people from Kampala will go to the center in Upper Nile Valley.
And that is the plan.
The change has begun now. That's what we mean by rebranding the Upper Nile Valley. It is now the hub.
I saw some very beautiful pictures and what we expect it to look like, you know, when we take on this role. But real quick, I'm amused, I'm impressed, I'm like, okay. And I do hope this actually does come to happen.
It will come to pass.
I hope very soon. But now looking at the West Nile region in itself, looking at all of this we've talked about in regards to the past and the history and where we are now, are we seeing an acceptance that there is change from the society, from the people?
The publicity of the Uganda-German Investment Symposium that has so far gone out, both nationally on print media, and of course now that you're doing a great job in enabling me to address the nation on Business Today, and what the chairman of NOC, Dr. Robert Musigorokari, has done by visiting West Nile, Muni University. In fact, Muni University is one of the most beautiful universities in Uganda.
Yes, I saw.
Yes. And the excitement that is already vibrating within West Nile because of this.
And you're involving young people.
Yes. And women.
And women,
yes. Now,
and these are the people that really move the wider audience.
Another development that has been going parallel to this is that the Northern Uganda local government leaders have been working since 2016 on a Northern Uganda regional development strategy and investment plan. And they sought the support of General Salim Saleh, who tasked me to go help them develop an investment plan. Now, that is now being steered through government, through the Office of the Prime Minister, and is likely to be launched very soon. Now, together with the investment symposium, this investment plan, you know, covers the gazetted industrial parks in Leda, Gulu, and Arua, which are in the Uganda Investment Authority Strategic Plan. It covers the Science Technology Industrial Park in Pakwach. Yes, Arua Business Industrial Park, which is one of the 22 gazetted, Nwoya Agro-Industrial Park, and Yumbe Agro-Industrial Park. Now, all these need industrial load electricity transmission, which government is already working on.
Yes. You talked about women and you got me started here. So how have you, rather if you've anything you've identified or seen on how women have been encouraged or put in positions of realizing that they can also, start up their own businesses or be entrepreneur in one way or another to earn a living and even change their lives?
First of all, the Vice Chancellor of Muni University is a woman.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
And she's flying the flagship of women empowerment. 2, on the regional committee and the national committee, there are women. But let me focus on the regional committee.
Yes.
On the regional committee are key women entrepreneurs and innovators.
Oh,
some with PhDs.
interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Somebody like Dr. Betty Odongo is an innovator. Right now she's in Italy. She's doing an innovation for something for albinism, but she has an innovation industry herself.
Interesting.
There is Dr. Agnes Apea from Lango, who is known as Mama Rice in Lira, who was revolutionized commercial rice growing in Lango sub-region. There's the proprietor of Victoria Seeds, Miss Josephine Okot. She's on the regional committee. So these are women entrepreneurs, key women from northern Uganda. Okay?
That are part of the entire.
They're in the leadership.
Okay.
Okay. Now, through that, we have the Minister for Northern Uganda Recovery, who is steering the Northern Uganda Regional Development Plan and Investment Plan as Office of the Prime Minister. That is kudos to women in the political leadership and entrepreneurship. And there are many other women's organizations which are going to be invited, women entrepreneurs, okay? They're going to be invited in that capacity.
Okay. Well, our time is running up. Finally, if you could talk to the people out there in regards to the Uganda-Germany Investment Symposium and, you know, the final word to them. Really.
Sure. No, the Uganda Germany Investment Symposium couldn't have come at a better time. It's a time when DRC has asked to join the East African community. It's a time when South Sudan is vigorous on ending its conflict and emphasizing trade with the neighbors. It's a time when West Nile and Northern Uganda are being connected to the national grid. The best is here. That Uganda, and especially the Upper Nile Valley, will be a hub and destination of investments.
Well said. And I must say thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Roberta.
I do appreciate it.
Thank you.
I was going to say it, Professor, but well, like you mentioned, Mr. George Piwang Jalobo.
Yes.
He doesn't want to hear these things of Professor what. But he's a research fellow and consultant. He's been with Makerere University since 2008.
Previously,
but he's also doing this job for the Uganda-Germany Investment Symposium that will be happening
24th to 26th July this month.
Yes.
Yes.
Of course, at Muni University, and I must say that is a great
The most beautiful public university in Uganda, Muni University, is in West Nile, Upper Nile Valley.
Okay, well said. And I must say it is an opportunity for all the young people, the women, and of course, the entire community there.
Sure.
And of course at large as a country. You know, one person used to say, if you have a relative that's always coming to you to beg, you're never going to improve yourself because you're going to always have to give them. However, if you empower them, then they'll also be able to empower everyone else, and all of you will actually be okay. So that's a very good move there that we are having.
Thank you,
so thank you so much, and also thank you for watching Business Today. We do come Monday to Friday, 9 to 10. My name is Rowena Kajumba, from me and the entire business team. Have yourselves a good day.